He can hear sounds of combat from within the room. Quietly, he sneaks forward and spies a rogue-like figure attacking his companions. Sneaking up behind them, he quietly draws Bleeder, his rapier, and stabs it through the rogue's back, twisting the blade as he pulls it out. And then he kicks the corpse over the ledge into the water below. He moves on to the next figure, stabs it through the back, scoring an insanely critical hit. Again, kicking the corpse off the ledge to plunk in the water below. Hey, Luke Hart here, and that was a scene from the very beginning of last night's game session. When we last left off, the heroes were confronting their former companion Katso, and they were having a really rough job at it, going against Katso's disciples, these 4 tiefling thieves. The tiefling thieves were cleaning up on them. They were giving them a really, really bad night at it. They were not sure that they would be successful in this battle. In fact, I later learned from the players that they had an entire email string going on where they were discussing tactics. What are we going to do? Let's do this, let's do the other. They were legitimately concerned that they were going to wipe in this battle. And the crazy part is they had the most powerful of all of the combatants, Katso, sealed away by a wall of force, and they were only fighting his 4 disciples. Only the gods know what would have happened had Katso been involved in this fight. But one of the players, Dunkel, wasn't there the last session, and so his character was, the player was not there, and so his character was not there, and so the way I run my games is if your butt is not in the seat, then your character is not there. But his butt was in the seat this time, and so his character came into the room, saw what was going on, and in the first 2 rounds, kills 2 of Katso's disciples. Not only was that a magnificent entry, but it also probably saved the party from a total wipe. Katso, who had been viewing the entire combat from behind his wall of force, who was very happy at times because the battle was definitely going his way, now turns very angry and irate as he sees 2 of his disciples go down. And then the heroes proceed to convince the gnomes that Katso is not the great one. He is not so great as they would believe him to be, as Katso would have them believe. In fact, they convince them that Katso has returned them to their life of slavery, creating potions for them and not being able to leave the compound. And this is exactly what the Hand of Light rescued the gnomes from to begin with. And now Katso, supposedly the Great One, now has them doing the exact same thing, the same life of slavery, in making these potions. The gnomes begin to come around. They begin to think, yes, you might be right. Maybe we are being duped by Katso. And the gnomes turn to Katso and call out, "Katso, what shall we do?" Katso, from behind the wall, presses his face up against it and says, "For you see, a wall of force permits nothing to pass through it, and if air cannot pass through it, then neither can sound. And so nobody can communicate with Katso nor hear him. And so the whole time he's been alternately praising them and berating them for the battle as the tides shifted back and forth. And now Katso is clearly not happy that his gnome minions, his gnome alchemists, are now possibly turning over to the good side. So Karn strides forward and slams the remaining tiefling disciple of Katso, killing him and knocking him from the ledge to plunk in the water below. At this point, the remaining disciple decides to bug out of there. He had been stabbing Luna in the back as she was trying to climb up the wall. However, things are going poorly now. 3 of the disciples have fallen, Katso is locked away, the heroes are assembling on the ledge above, a new hero, Dunkel, has arrived. It is time to leave, and so he flees down one of the tunnels in the sewers. And I had a 10-minute timer going on. The wall of force ran out at that moment, and there was a buildup of water pressure in the sewer tunnel. It was an outlet, and the buildup of water pressure unleashes, taking Katso with it down below into the basin, and water gushing out for several minutes. The basin fills maybe 10 more feet, and the heroes do not see Katso, and Katso does not resurface. The heroes wait for several minutes, and no Katso. He was either killed by the torrent of water from the tunnel, or he escaped, deciding, My 4 disciples, well, 3 of my disciples were slain, 1 fled. I know these heroes. I know what they're capable of. There is no way that I'm going to take them on myself. Better to run, hide, recover, and gather more minions before facing them again. Of course, this is all conjecture. We have no idea what Katso is thinking or what he will do in the future. He may never run across the heroes again. He may never come back for revenge. Would that be what Katso would do? Here are some photos from the battle. There were several rounds that happened in our last session. These are the ones from this current session. So as the heroes are heading out of the compound, they go to a chest that was in Shindia Dark Eye's room. They check it for traps and stuff. They find some traps on it. Dunkel disarms them. They open the chest up. They pull out a couple of jars of ointment that are basically turn you, if you had been stoned by a creature, back to flesh, which was very opportune because there was an entire part of this compound where there were cockatrices that could have stoned somebody. And so, of course, the thieves, Shindia Dark Eyes, had like a backup plan just in case one of them got touched. They could unstone their own companions, their own comrades. They also find a crapload of gold and platinum pieces in there, which they promptly take. And then the heroes head over to the barracks, where they find Katso's own personal bed. He, of course, has blocks of Weirdust stacked up on his bed to form this nice little comfortable cubby where he sleeps at night. And in his pillow is stuffed a note that reads something along the lines of, "I've been waiting for you, friends, and I've prepared a small surprise for you." Of course, this Katso probably suspected that they would check out the barracks and stuff before they headed over to confront him. So the heroes leave the compound with the gnomes in tow, and up above, back in Waterdeep, they are basically discussing what they're going to do with the gnomes. They don't think that they should keep the gnomes with themselves. They believe that Katso is probably going to come back for them at some point. They need to put them in a place that is secure, where they will be safe, and yet also free. They do not want the gnomes to continue to have to live a life of captivity, doing things that they don't want to do under a cruel master, etc., etc. So the heroes have a couple options they discuss. One is the New Olam Bard College. Perhaps the gnomes could have some position there, or El Tortial Academy, where Dexter trained. Certainly an academy of wizards would have some use for gnomes that have extensive alchemist knowledge. Finally, the heroes make a deal with the New Olam Bard College. The gnomes will stay on there. They will receive room and board and a very nice little paycheck. In return, the gnomes will document their alchemical knowledge and also research new formulas for new potions and other things. At this point, after this major adventure, the heroes need to take some much-needed downtime. This is one of the rules in my game now. After a major adventure where you expend a lot of your energy, you need to recover from that. You can't just keep going from adventure to adventure to adventure. And so there is a mandatory 10 days downtime in my games after major adventures. This allows several things. It allows the heroes to take actions, do things that take more time than you might normally be able to do, because there's usually, in D&D, there's usually a sense of there's always something to be done, and there's never enough time, and we must go to the next thing. Otherwise, who knows what will happen. And so I force them to take downtime so that they're able to do pursuits that they might not otherwise be able to engage in. Downtime also allows the DM to progress the storyline. Sometimes there are things that are going on that you need days for them to progress. Downtime allows me to progress the storyline, which is very important for me, because it allows me to screw with my players. Dexter spends time researching the magical darkness that is covering the entire world, they believe at this point. Of course, particulates from meteorite that crashed to the south near Alm is responsible for this, and he discovers a formula for some sort of solution that, if applied to the source in that meteorite, will neutralize the particulates and solve this massive darkness problem that is plaguing the land. Karn tracks down the scribe, who he asks to find this character Jathar, who had come possibly as an agent of Mephistopheles, seeking a map of Evermeet that Katso was in possession of. Jathar threatened them, and then had some bone devils attack them. Karn wants to know where he is, so they can deal with him. He also spends some time in religious service, going around the city, comforting the people because of the darkness, improving their morale. and he gains one favor from somebody that he helped during his downtime. Lear spends his time carousing with the merchant class. He is looking for a manager for their new inn, which Lear is going to call Guinevere's Rest. He ultimately finds a man named Barrick, who he believes will be a very good manager for the inn. They make a deal. Barrick will receive 10% of the inn's revenues in exchange for this. Lear also is required to recruit a woman named Cynthia, whom Barrick has an eye for, to serve at the inn as well. Luna spends her downtime writing letters to certain people to inform them of certain things which the other heroes are not aware of, and thus I can't say too much about. She spends some time carousing as well, and gains 3 allied contacts among the middle class. Dunkel goes to a woman named The Flower that he met at the Thirsty Throat Tavern, and convinces her to work at their new tavern as well, only Dunkel's plan is to train her in the ways of the rogue, and informants, and spying, and thieves' cant, and things of that nature, so that she can basically be a spy among the patrons as she serves them, and glean information that might be of use to the heroes. As their downtime wraps up, a courier comes to Lear with an urgent message. Lear reads the message aloud to the rest of the players in the group. It is from Cora Sorrell, Lear's mentor at the New Olam Bard College. Elrendel Fairsong, your presence is required forthwith at the college. I have in my company a minstrel who traveled with your mother, Nicolette. He tells me their band of traveling bards was in Lelian, to the north, when a horde of undead descended on the town. Many of the townsfolk were carried off captives. Because you did not respond to her previous request to lend her aid, if you'll recall, I told you about dire circumstances to the north some time ago, but you had other matters to attend to. Nicolette and her band attempted to confront the source of the undead horde. However, they were captured, or killed. Only Evard escaped, and he is here now pleading for the college to lend aid. However, New Olam is currently overwhelmed with research concerning the blackened sky, and several watered Havians have turned out to be infected with more slotty. We thought that crisis taken care of, but it continues. Thus, we must contend with that. So you, Elrendar Fairsong, and your band of followers are being called upon to take up this duty. If you hold any allegiance to the college, or any love for your mother, you will not shirk us again. I expect to see you promptly. Signed, Cora Sorrell. P.S. I might add, had you responded properly the first time, your mother might not now be missing or dead. And this, of course, is a consequence of the heroes having chosen to go after Katso instead of dealing with something that was happening with Lear's mother. They chose Katso, and so the storyline for Lear's mother progressed, and this is the result. Things have happened. She's been captured or killed, and now Lear must go figure that out. Lear and his band of followers. So hey, that's it. That was the campaign diary for our last session. So over on Drive-Thru-RPG, you can find some of the adventures that I create for the groups that I run. You can also find written campaign diaries for the game sessions over on my blog. Until next time, let's play D&D.